Hypland is a I don't even know how to describe it at this point. I would say like Hypland is like a streetwear brand, but we're now like focused on anime a little bit. So I would say we're like the brand that blends like the streetwear influence with like the anime geek culture world. Like we're like that perfect middle ground between the two spaces. I think they kind of came both at the same time. I grew up around, so like growing up in LA was like super tight. You got all these different influences. I feel like being in LA, because there's so many people doing so many different things, you're constantly seeing and like looking at just a bunch of different stuff. So for me, I naturally got into like the anime stuff just because I was like, I want to say I was into like martial arts as like a kid, and that like that progression just kind of came naturally. And then through the anime influence or the natural interest in anime, I got into fashion. And then being from LA, it's like you see, I got to watch brands like Diamond, the Hundreds, like Fairfax become like this real cool space. And at the same time, I was like watching anime too. So it's like I'm doing art, I'm drawing my favorite characters, but I'm also being a fan of fashion. So I got to see both. You know what I mean? I feel like being in Los Angeles is really like this. Los Angeles is like this hub, like almost like a global melting pot full of like culture, different people, and different people doing so many different things. So you have so many options in terms of figuring out what you want to do, what you might take interest in, etc. You know what I'm saying? I have different role models for different reasons, but I'd say right now my biggest role model would probably be my friend Ryan. He owns the brand Rip and Dip. I'm not. I think I would say him over a couple of the other homies that helped me in the space or that I've been friends with for all these years, mainly because I feel like he has a very unique perspective that's different than traditional streetwear, and has created his own lane that goes beyond the skateboard culture or like typical design focus. It's like I look at Rip and Dip not for their design, but more so for like the culture and spaces they've created. It's almost like it's like they've created a character and a lifestyle and like just an overall brand like genre and feeling that's different from like traditional streetwear.
It's like what our future did with rap.
Exactly. Exactly. It's like you look at Rip and Dip. I almost look at Rip and Dip as not even just a streetwear brand anymore, but it's like a whole entire identity. It's like I look at it and I'm like, dang, I think of like brands like Hello Kitty and like massive powerhouses, and you look at Rip and Dip and they have like the same type of feel where they create their own characters, etc. So, that's probably like my biggest influence. And then too, like from a brand standpoint, when I look at Rip and Dip, he has so much fun with this brand. And I feel like when you look at streetwear, a lot of the time you have people who kind of forget the fun notion or the notion to have fun kind of like with their brand, and everything is so serious. But like Rip and Dip is always like this fun, like gag, like poke at different things and kind of like make fun of things and kind of not
So serious.
exactly not be so serious. And I really like to like live by that and try and show the same thing for my brand. Probably, I would say like in the immediate scope, like most attainable, the Boondocks. I want to do something with like him, or I mean them or Aaron Magruder for sure. That's like my favorite show growing up. That's like just a piece of me. So if I could work with Aaron or the Boondocks specifically, that'd be my dream collab right now. I think, I think, I think it's a thin line of a difference between the two. I like to look at. I think Picasso said something like that about like great artists stealing, but and like I feel like that kind of defines like that thin line, because people don't. How I look at it is like with inspiration, I like to take things, or like me specifically, I like to take like little bits and pieces from specific people and try and like modify them to create like something new, if that makes any sense. So I'll look at like something that one person's doing and another person's doing, and look at it and say, and maybe like take little bits and pieces and say like, all right, how can I use like what I like from all these different people to create something new? I grew up like initially being into like fashion and stuff like that, and it's always been like a part of who I am. Obviously, like I like designer brands, I've like streetwear, etc. But I've always been into anime forever, and I was like the kid that was teased for like liking anime. I wasn't cool in middle school, wasn't cool in elementary school, wasn't cool in like high school. I was just kind of like back and forth. I did obscure things like play tennis, and like so I was never really that cool guy. So for me, like when I got into streetwear and the stuff started like doing well for like regular design stuff, and I was meeting people like Virgil and like going to school with and like meeting all these different brand owners, it was tight. But there was still this like weird energy between like people who like anime and like fashion. And I want to be like, I like this, I'm into this stuff. You can be cool and like anime at the same time. There was no brand that was like making stuff for like cool stuff for that audience or like people who like stuff like this. So I was like, why not try and do collaborations and like make something that can blend the two cultures together? Because they exist. It's like, it's a ton of black people who like anime. There's a ton of cool people who like anime, as we see now with all the rappers and stuff. But there was nothing like that at the time. And it's like now it's all popular, which is fire. But when I was getting teased and all these different people were getting teased, it was like, oh, you're a loser if you like anime. Now it's like this tight thing. And I want to be the dude that bridges the gap between like the urban culture and anime culture and streetwear and blends the two people. It's like even with black representation in anime, you don't have that many black cosplayers, black voice actors, even black anime characters. And I want to be the dude that can kind of come in and say like, look, I have a platform with this clothing thing. Maybe it might branch off into, TV show, or we might make our own character that's black, or our own like anime studio. You got this black anime studio in Japan right now dominating, doing stuff for like top shows like Haiku, just different studios. It's like, why can't I do something similar for the culture as well? You know what I'm saying? And like be that guy that bridges the gap between the two. So I don't think my first sale was the most impactful thing. I would say there was like a couple moments that have been like the most hype moments I've ever had. Like the first super duper hype day was like the first day I made like $1,000 at school. It's like I used to sell crew neck sweaters in like high school all the time, like just flipping, clothes out of my backpack at school, like always hustling and stuff. And I remember one day I got in trouble this day too. So I remember one day I was selling like clothes out of my backpack in my English class. I had a teacher that was a little, I'll say prejudiced for the video. Always calling the principal saying I'm selling stuff in class. And I remember that day that I got in trouble, they like took me up to the office and was like, yo, we're gonna suspend you for selling stuff on campus, blah, 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 blah. Like you need to have a business permit, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking to myself like, dang, bro, like I made all this money today. I'm like super hyped. Like I was able to sell like maybe like a couple sweaters and make like $1,000. And it was like, dang, man, like I think for me, that was like the moment where I realized like that you could actually make money off of selling clothes. And this is something that I could like actually turn into a business beyond like what I was doing. So that would say like for me, that was like the most impactful, like the first day I made like $1,000. I think I was in like 10th grade at the time. And it was like a real tight like moment for me. I was like 14, 15, like, man, like, bro, I made $1,000. Like, bro, I remember specifically, it's like, I made that $1,000. I almost got suspended. My mom was like, fuck no, don't give them your money. Like they tried to confiscate my clothes and my money. I told them to suspend me. I'm not doing it. And my mom was like, I think at that point too, my mom kind of like figured it and clicked, and then she was like super duper supportive after that. And then for me, that's what kind of had me like push into like focus more onto like my business, if that makes any sense. I have a bunch of stuff planned. I'll say like for without spoiling too much, I have like 17 things that we're working on this year as far as like big and small collaborations. So hopefully we make some like iconic pieces like the Katsi collection. I feel like that collection kind of did well and it's like on accident. Like Kyle Kuzma was just wearing a jacket. Israel Adesanya wore it at like that big weigh-in and that like went viral. I feel like it wasn't even planned like that. It just kind of happened, you know what I mean? Which is dope, Anywhere in the world. I feel like first instinct it had me say Japan. But because I love the culture. I feel like that gave me an opportunity to kind of like or a reason to go out there here and there more often. But if not Japan, for sure LA. I feel like there's no like it'd be nice to open something in Japan because there's so that's my space, that's my favorite place. But in LA, it's kind of like where I'm from, where the business resides, and I feel like there is no place or like no hub, like I said, that links like that anime, streetwear, like world together. And it'd be cool to create like a space that is like inviting for like all groups of people, for people to kind of come out. Maybe we do movie nights and like just really create like a real sense of culture. And I'd like to do that at my like home city. Honestly, bro, I don't really have that many favorite memories. I didn't grow I didn't just become a fan of basketball until I got into like college. I grew up like, honestly, my favorite memory of Kobe Bryant was like watching basketball and watching Kobe Bryant with my grandmother, who like was like my rock at the time. Rest in peace to my grandmother. But I'd probably say like that's my favorite memory. Like we talked about Kobe at her funeral. Kobe was her favorite player. She was like the only person that probably thought Kobe should take more shots, shouldn't pass the ball as much. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's probably my favorite memory, just like watching Kobe play with my grandmother as a kid. And even though I wasn't a basketball fan at that time, that's probably like my most prominent memories. I feel like it was a huge win, man. Coming out of like a terrible year with COVID, I feel like it was like very uplifting for the people in Los Angeles, especially because we like the hub of COVID now. So having that little victory was like a little uplifting feeling, even though it's been so terrible out here right now. Don't come. There's too many people here, bro. It's enough. Don't just stay out of LA. Don't come to LA. Somebody got a song that say "Don't come to LA." I feel like it's like YG or something like that. Don't come to LA. Stay home. Because I feel like honestly, if you want me to give you like a more educated response of why I'm saying don't come to LA, I feel like with the internet, bro, you don't need to be here, man. I can connect with as many people as I want at the click of my thumbs, bro. I can talk to my homies in Japan, Paris, Canada, Germany. I don't got to move out there to have a relationship with them and be cool. It's like, you don't got to do the same thing. It's like, stay in Nebraska where you live at, be the man in your city, and then maybe visit LA sometimes, but don't come out here. It's too many people. And taxes are bad too. So if you establish a business out here, you're going to be paying OD tax on your corporation. Because we're in this anime space, I'm going to keep digging in this lane. I feel like there's nobody really in the lane with me. So like, why would I leave and try and do something else? Like I said, I have 17 collaborations that are coming out this year or planned between like now and like January of 2022. So, obviously keep releasing more stuff, but I also want to really develop and like work on our home goods and like working on things outside of streetwear, whether it be like with animation, drawing, maybe make our own character, really get deeper in the anime space. I mean, it'd be even tight to throw our own convention one day, like just call it Hypland. You know what I mean? It's like, that's it right there. No more Anime Expo. It's like, that's it.